Good evening. I'm Art Rapkin. The year was 1967. The place, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A beer town, factory town, Republican conservative town. Something took place strange and mysterious. Jimi Hendrix came to town. Or at least, they thought he was Jimi Hendrix. Let me tell you about the story about Jimi Hendrix and Max Stein at the Pfister Hotel. The year was 1967. The place, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Mid-America, USA. Most people think of Milwaukee as a factory town, a brewery town, a Republican town, highly conservative town. Few know that there was a great music scene in Milwaukee. Few know that there was a week where Jimi Hendrix came to town. At least they thought it was Jimi Hendrix. I had just got done playing in the band I had called Black Butter. We did a set at the Brass Ass. Used to be a strip club, then they hired us as a rock band. Did a lot of cover material, Cream, Hendrix, Beatles, Stones. Was hungry. It was 1 o'clock in the morning by the time we folded up. Went to Tiny's Roasted Chicken. Tiny's was the only place open where you could get any good food on the Lower East Side of Milwaukee. Tiny's was full of characters, the kind of characters you'd see in a place at 1, 2, 3 in the morning. Hookers, escorts, strippers, mafioso, burglars, armed robbers, pickpockets, band members, waiters, waitresses, bartenders. That's the kind of place it was, and it was run by a guy named Tiny. How did he get his name? I don't know, but he was 6'6" and 500 pounds. Made some mean roasted chicken with some hand-cut fries. So it was the hangout. And I went there. Had a great roasted chicken sandwich and some hand-cut fries. Talked to some friends I knew, the regulars. And when I was leaving, I walked outside, and the strangest thing happened. There was a young black boy who was asking for money. He looked malnourished. He said he hadn't eaten in days and he needed a place to sleep and eat. I wanted to help him out. So I turned around and went back into Tiny's. Tiny's served till 4 a.m. Bought him a roasted chicken dinner. Hung out with him, got to know his situation. This poor kid had a mom who was a prostitute, didn't want him around while she was doing her work. Had a father he hadn't seen in years. Seemed like a nice kid, and he had a strong resemblance to me of Jimi Hendrix. I thought, wow, this kid could be his twin brother. Now, not many people knew what Jimi Hendrix looked like in those days, but I did because I had the album Are You Experienced? And on the cover was Jimi Hendrix. And this kid looked just like him. Big afro, the whole bit. And he said, man, if you could help me with a place to sleep, I'd appreciate it. And I said, you know, I think I can help you. So I walked outside of Tiny's because there was a payphone on the wall outside on the street. And there were no cell phones. So I went and put a quarter in the payphone and called the Pfister Hotel. The Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee, Wisconsin is the only 5-star hotel at the time that was in Milwaukee. It was well known for celebrities and politicians, and President Richard Nixon had stayed there himself. So I called the Pfister Hotel, and I just had this wild, impulsive thought that I was going to reserve a room for this guy. So I called the Pfister Hotel, and a young woman answers. It's 1:45, maybe 2 in the morning, and she answers. I said, hello, this is Max Stein from Columbia Records. I have an artist who has been on the road, and he kind of needs to relax. He's got a lot of stress. He needs to get away and get off the grid for a while. So I'd like him to come to your hotel, stay a few days. Do you have any availability? I'd like the best room you have available. And she said, certainly, Mr. Stein. I can set him up with the Ben Marcus suite. That's the owner's suite, top floor of the tower, which was just built recently. Like, wow, that sounds great. I couldn't believe it. I had to kind of grin to myself a little bit, like, wow, top floor of the tower. You should sleep well up there. So she asked me for any type of address or for the billing, and I said 77 Sunset Strip, Max Stein, Columbia Records. So I go back into the Tiny's, and I tell Jimmy, I call him Jimmy now, I said, come on, I'm going to take you to a place to sleep. It's a hotel in downtown Milwaukee. As we're driving there, I told him, I want you to take my guitar and case, walk in through the red carpet. It's going to be a doorman with an overhang in the front, a red carpet all the way through the lobby and into the reception area. I want you to walk up and just say you're here for Mr. Stein's room. And she said, yes, sir. And I said, one other thing, ma'am. I'll be coming in a few days to take care of the bill, but there has to be absolute confidence about this, that there can be no one in the hotel that knows that this is Jimi Hendrix, because then he wouldn't be relaxed and people would be bothering him, and we can't have that. She said, absolutely, sir. This will be kept in strict confidence between you and I. I said, thank you. So I drive Jimmy to the hotel. I watch him walk in the door. I see him walk up to the desk. He's registering. I don't know what he's doing, but I see him get a key and turn to the right and head for the elevators. So I waited about 20 minutes, and I called the hotel and said, may I be connected to Mr. Stein's room? And she said, yes, connect you to Max Stein. So he answers the phone, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Everything okay? He says, man, you got to see this. You got to see this. I said, well, okay, if you insist. So I drive up into the tower. There's actually several floors for parking. So I drive up to about the third floor, park the car, walk into the doors by the elevator, never have to go near the lobby or anything. Go up to the floor he told me, which turned out to be the top floor of the tower. Get out of the elevator, I turn left, and I'm facing these huge double door, beautifully carved wooden doors into what I could imagine was a suite. And he opens the door, and I walk in, and the first thing I see in front of me is a baby grand piano. It's like a living room. There's a beautiful ornate dining room set that held about 12 chairs or more. To my left was a 6 to 8 foot bar fully stocked. To my right was a powder room, and at each end of this room that was 40 feet long was 2 bedrooms. One had a king on one end, one had 2 queens on the other with their own private, beautiful bathrooms. It's pretty much of a new place, this tower. So he said, well, why don't you stay? And I thought, yeah, why don't I stay? I couldn't think of a reason not to. I'd never been in a room that nice in my entire life. So we hung out and talked and so forth, and went to sleep about 4 in the morning. Woke up late. It was about 1:30 in the afternoon, when there actually was a knock on the door. And I thought, oh, maybe it's housekeeping, So I told him, Jimmy, let me handle this. So I go to the door, and he's sitting on one of the couches, and I open the door, and it's 2 uniformed police officers and another guy in a suit. And he introduces himself and said, my name is Chief Harold Breyer. I'm the chief of police of Milwaukee. Well, my heart went into my stomach, and I thought I was going to pee down my pants. Thought, holy shit, we're in trouble. We had been smoking joints, so you could smell the marijuana in the room. It was 1967 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This wasn't something that was tolerated by anybody, let alone the police. He said, he pulled out an album from under his arm. He said, I'd like to have this signed by Mr. Hendrix for my kids. I took the album cover. I turned toward Jimmy and walked toward him with the look on my face and the pen that said, hey, Jimmy, would you sign this for the chief, please? This is the chief of police of Milwaukee. He's like, sure. So he scribbles a signature. I turn around, I take it back to the chief. And behind him is housekeeping coming with this huge cart. It's a huge cart of food. And I mean lobster and crab legs and shrimp, and there was Dom Perignon and white wine and salads and bread. And he said, this is compliments of the city of Milwaukee. I just thought, holy shit. This is really something, you know. I thanked them, and they turned around and left. And we brought the food in, we were hungry, and we ate and drank. And I was busy, you know, making phone calls to friends. I had friends, most of them were teenagers, because I wanted to bring some people in for a party that night. You know, it was just me and Jimmy, and to be honest with you, this guy wasn't that interesting. So I wanted to fill the place with somebody that I knew that would have fun, you know, maybe bring some girls in, and I did. And so people came that night, and we had a really fun time hanging out, smoking pot and drinking as much as we wanted to. And some people stayed and some people left. But about midnight, my friend AJ, he showed up. And AJ was older by 10 years, and he was the MC of a local strip club called the Ad Lib that was owned by the local family of the Cosa Nostra. And so AJ showed up with a bunch of strippers and the crowd from the strip club. So now we had strippers and transvestites. All these people were in there, and they really took it to the next level. And it went on until 5, 6, 7 in the morning until people just fell. People who didn't leave just stayed there. And the place had bodies everywhere. There was a bra and panties over here on the bar. There was a bra on the lampshade over here. There were women half naked, some fully naked, laying on the couch, some on the floor, some in the bedrooms. There was everybody was laying around. And there came to be a knock on the door. It was about noon, 1 o'clock. And I thought, holy shit, the place really stunk now of marijuana because everybody had been smoking, and the people who woke up were smoking now. So I opened the door, and the smoke was coming out of the room, and there's also 3 men. They all have suits on. He introduces himself as Henry Meyer, the mayor of Milwaukee. Mayor Meyer. Like, wow, nice to meet you. He had an album cover, and so did one of the guys next to him had their own album cover. And they wanted to know if they could have it signed by Mr. Hendrix. The album cover was Are You Experienced, you know, with a picture of Jimi Hendrix on it. And here was this guy on the couch with the big afro, looked just like Jimi Hendrix. So, took the album covers over, he signed them. I couldn't believe it. All of a sudden, more carts of food. Now, mind you, the mayor of Milwaukee is looking in, and there are actually adults, teenagers, half-clothed, naked. It looked like the scene out of The Hangover, but it was at least 30 years before the movie was made, just to give you an idea. Man, it was a great time. It was so crazy that me and my friends used to sit around and we'd be smoking and drinking, and we'd come up with crazy stuff to do because basically we were in a hotel room a lot. And one of the things we thought would be really cool is if Jimi Hendrix went down in the lobby of the Pfister Hotel and sat on a couch down in the lobby with everybody in the hotel pretending that they didn't know he was Jimi Hendrix. And I gave him my Stratocaster guitar and said, we're going to go downstairs, you're going to sit on the couch. We were so high. We were just laughing and laughing and laughing. We were so high. Me and Jerry, his name was Jerry Hotel, decided that we got to take the drapes, the velour drapes that were hanging across the windows overlooking Lake Michigan. We took the heavy velour drapes down and put it around Jimmy like a shroud. And then the last thing as he was walking out of the place is there was a waste paper basket on the ground next to the bar. I'll never forget it. The waste paper basket, I don't know how to describe it in words, but it looked like something that you could take in and it was worth $10,000. It was wrapped in like gold lame. It had insignia on it, maybe some type of decor that I had never seen on a waste paper basket. So Jerry thought this would be cool if he put it on his head. So Jimmy goes down. Now he's in the lobby. Me and Jerry and a couple of other, Gary Fine, who was a saxophone player who thought he was a pirate with sleeves that were all puffed out, mustache and goatee. We were up on the mezzanine. The mezzanine is the floor above the lobby, but you can look down into the lobby. It's all open to the mezzanine. So we're up there trying to be cool and quiet and not expose ourselves laughing. And there's this guy sitting wrapped in the drapes with a waste paper basket on his head and a Fender Stratocaster on his lap, which he had no idea how to play. So, we got our kicks, and we weren't even on Route 66. We were in downtown Milwaukee at the Pfister Hotel. We also had the owner of the hotel, whose name was Ben Marcus, come up with his son, Greg Marcus, and get a copy of Are You Experienced signed as well. The suite we were in was actually named the Ben Marcus Suite at the time. Even in those days, it was about $400 and some a night. So I said to Jimmy after a week, 10 days, it's time we have to get out of here, man. We can't just stay here. This is it. You needed a place to sleep for a night, and I stretched it out to 10 nights. But sooner or later, you're going to ask for payment. So we're going to go. So we go down to my car, which is still in the third level parking. We didn't have to go through the lobby. We didn't have to check in, out. In those years, there were no credit cards. You didn't have to sign in with a credit card. I was supposed to show up and pay with a check or cash. That's how you paid in those years. Believe it or not, for those of you who were born in a time that you didn't know this, there was no credit cards at the time. So all you did when you checked into a hotel was it was all on the honor system. When you left it, you wrote a check or paid cash. So we left without going to the front desk. I dropped Jimmy back off by Tiny's and wished him the best. In any case, I ended up about a year later, I was getting married to my high school sweetheart, Cheryl. At the time, I was living with my parents. It was kind of between places, and we were moving to San Francisco after the wedding. So I met my parents, but they're not home, and I knock at the door. I go to the door, I'm putting on a suit, and here's two Milwaukee detectives. One's wearing a blazer, that's a blue blazer, and a shirt and tie. The other guy's in a like a plaid blazer with kind of Docker pants, khaki pants. They didn't look like they were anything but detectives. One of them had one of those brush haircuts. They used to call him a flat top. Big nose, a lot of scars from acne as a teenager. They come in flashing their credentials. We want to talk to you about the Jimi Hendrix experience at the Pfister Hotel about a year ago. And I said, yeah, well, we know you were there. Yeah, I was there. We were told that you were the mastermind, that you were Max Stein. And believe me, I was scared shitless. Like, wow, this is coming back to get me. These guys are going to arrest me, and I'm going to have to face charges, and then I'm going to owe, I don't know how many thousands of dollars, which I didn't have. I said, look, I was up there, I used to have a radio show at the time on public radio on the University of Wisconsin. WUWM was the station. It was called Rapkin Raps, big groups around town. And what I did was, my show consisted of having interviews with bands or celebrities or musicians that came to Milwaukee. I would get in with my press pass that I made, and I would sit with them and do an interview. He said, and Jimi Hendrix, I went in to see him, and he did the interview, and then he invited me to stay with him because I knew a lot of people, and I said we could do some parties, So he said, well, bring it on. So I stayed with him, and this is the first I heard that it wasn't Jimi Hendrix. I don't know what you mean. You were like, oh, bullshit, you knew exactly. We have people that'll testify that you were the brains behind the operation. I said, look, I don't know. If you're going to arrest me, but all I can tell you is, I thought it was Jimi Hendrix. I was there when the mayor of Milwaukee came up, and he thought it was Hendrix, Mayor. I was there when the chief of police came up and had an album cover signed. He handed it to me, and I gave it to Mr. Hendrix, and he thought it was Jimi Hendrix, the chief of police in Milwaukee. Chief of police, the mayor, the owner of the hotel, Ben Marcus, they all thought it was Jimi Hendrix, and I thought it was Jimi Hendrix. So either you guys arrest me, or I gotta go to a wedding right now. They looked at each other and looked at me, and I played that card, held it to my chest. They said, you better not ever come to the Pfister Hotel again. I'm like, okay, have a nice day. They leave, I go get married. Long story short, we move to San Francisco. And about 9 or 10 months goes by. Unfortunately, it didn't work out between us. I had gotten into hallucinogenics and run into Timothy Leary and did some LSD and some angel dust, and she was working a 9 to 5 at a car dealership. So we didn't work out, and we were splitting up, and I went back to Milwaukee. And I get to Milwaukee, and I'm driving along what's called Bradford Beach on the lakefront on Memorial Drive one day, and traffic's moving at 40 miles an hour, and what do I see? I see this guy with a huge afro, a black guy. He's got 2 Afghans, and he's wearing like some kind of a cape that's almost floor length in the summer. And as I'm driving closer, going 40 miles an hour, he's starting to look familiar, so I pull over to the curb, reach over, because in those years it was roll down windows. I roll down my window, and as he starts approaching to passing the car on foot, I go, "Jimmy?" And he looks in, leans in with his arm, he says, "Max!" I'm like, "Holy cow, man, look at you." He's like, "Yeah, thanks to you, Max. I really found my way. I'm doing artwork, I'm learning how to play guitar, I want to be in a band. I got some chicks that like me, and I got these dogs, and it's really all because of you." And I thought, wow, that's really cool. Well, I hope everything goes good for you, kid. All my best. And I put my car in the drive and drove off into the sunset that was happening over Lake Michigan. And to this day, you know, he never knew my name, and I never knew his. And that's the story of Max Stein and Jimi Hendrix